Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the pilot episode of the SphereCast. I'm Kaiser Dragon.
I'm Storm in a Teacup.
I'm Jessikyaa.
And this is our first episode of the podcast for Sphere. And our first discussion topic will be cosplaying and what it involves and everything. So first of all, define cosplay. What is cosplay to our audience?
Oh, Storm in a Teacup here. Cosplay is essentially you dressing up as a character that you favour for whatever reason, whether it be the look or the character's story or some personal connection to them, and just you essentially doing that, but for a more public sort of display, whether it is taking pictures or going off to a convention. The aim is to sort of dress up as that character and put it on display.
It's just like a flashy, sort of modern fancy dress party these days.
Yeah. I mean, I've had thoughts about sort of making more of a serious discussion on the topic, but it is sort of a more modern version of the old sort of dress up. You get them in sort of carnivals in the Caribbean where people want to dress up as whatever it is, spirits or just in fancy dresses, clowns, and it's a continuation of that sort of ideology of dressing up for a particular reason. Yeah,
because it's not. People seem to regard it as like a really modern thing, but it dates back many years ago.
Well, the basic idea of dressing up for whatever reason's been around for centuries and lots of different cultures. So it's not as odd as it looks at the start. The significance of cosplay is that you're dressing up as fantasy characters, whether it be from a game, a book. An anime is quite the common one, but Western animation as well, and even sometimes as singers of the more notable, obvious ones, and people from movies as well. So it's quite a broad spectrum.
It is, yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to our first question then. So we know what cosplay is. So why do you think people cosplay? What's the general reason why they do it? Yes.
It's like an expression, really. I mean, especially if you go to a convention, usually sometimes you want to go meet people who have the same interests as you, so you might see an anime meet for the anime you really love, so you'd cosplay as one of the characters and get involved in the meet with photo shoots, talking to these people. And it's like when you find someone who likes your favourite, say, TV show, like you both like, I don't know, something like a soap, and you can just sit and natter about it. It's the same with anime or a comic, but it's a lot harder sometimes to find people like that. I found it difficult. So if you can cosplay, it shows that you're one of these people, and you'd probably be quite happy to interact with that person.
So it's like you see it as a type of social gathering, really.
Yeah.
For me, cosplay is I've done acting for most of my life, and I really do enjoy acting. Not in the more serious sense, but in the more sort of informal sense. Sort of doing sort of small stage plays. I won't probably catch me in a movie or anything.
No.
But I like becoming a different character, and cosplay is sort of one of those outlets. I like to go for characters I can actually act up. I can actually try and be the character in some.
So a lot of people who cosplay feel like it's a form of acting as well.
Well, yeah, it's something you spot at conventions from time to time. It's something, if you're out in the street, somebody came walking on all fours, you'd be like, what's this? But at a convention, somebody dresses up as a particular character, and it's not too far-fetched to see them do that, and you actually enjoy seeing them because it creates a nice atmosphere. So it is sort of a platform for people to sort of express sort of aspects of themselves that they might like to show off, or just sort of act out as a character, sort of take the role of somebody that wouldn't normally be. But I also know you, Kaiser, do a bit of cosplay. What's your take on cosplay? Why do you do it?
Why do I do it? I think it's probably for the very same reasons. When you when you dress up as a character, you like to be that character. It's kind of like when people read comics or watch anime or any form of media. It's escapist fiction, isn't it? You are escaping your real life, whatever it may be, into the life of this character. That's usually why people dress up as usually their favourites. It's because they feel like the characters that they're playing are lives that they could. For example, I'll give an example. Like my first ever cosplay was when I was doing Squall Leonhardt from Final Fantasy VIII. When I cosplayed him, I felt like at the time, I could relate to him. Like his personality was, he was a lot more enclosed. Preferred to keep antisocial, and I felt like I could relate to him. Really, that's what made it so much more easier to get into his character. And I think that's probably why people do it for. It's usually because they can relate to them personally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So moving on from that, that sort of brings me to my next question. Do people consider cosplay as an art form, these days?
It depends, really, doesn't it? Why they're doing it. Like, some people will see, like, this new anime or game's coming out and they go, oh my god, that character is amazing, I want to make that cosplay. It hasn't even come out yet, and there's a lot of arguments, so if you don't even know who this character is, but it's just because it looks really great, so like, if I could replicate that, then it is more of an art form. But if you're just doing it as more of the social gathering type, it is, but it's also more for not so much art.
It's a bit more the fancy dress over the costume. And there's a professional aspect. You get cosplayers like Jessikyaa Negri, who's there's a lot of controversies around it. But all of that aside, she does do it quite professionally. She does do some really good cosplay, and in that respect, she's treating it a bit more like an art form. She's making sure that all the visuals are there. She'll normally set a particular photo shoot as you would any other photo shoot, so everything in its place. So in that respect, it is being treated like an art form. It's being treated like a photography art form. She's being treated completely like a model. So within that respect, it's treated like an art form. But apart from the what's called the masquerade, is where the more professional cosplayers go on stage to be judged. Most of a convention and most expressions of cosplay don't tend to be on that professional tier. Even those that sort of make professional level cosplay, quite often, in my experience, they've tended to avoid the more professional aspect of it, just choosing that as an expression of their constructive abilities. I was able to replicate this armor this brilliantly. They haven't done it to sort of show it off to the world, more as they've just showing it to the people at the convention. This is my handiwork. This is what I can do.
And maybe proving to themselves, like, okay, I've got this project. Can I do it? And then there's so much satisfaction of actually wearing it and knowing you've done that. I know with a lot of my cosplay, it's like, I've managed to do this.
Yeah.
I don't even know how, but it's there.
It's sort of I'm a scientist by background, so it's hard for me to sort of look at the artist side of things. But whether or not it's sort of considered professional, I think it's quite comfortable to say it's considered quite professionally, and it does encompass a lot of arts and crafts skills, from sewing to sort of the armor making, handling, sometimes metal armor, sometimes more sort of prop stuff, and also planning in a lot of cases. Acting gets involved, as we mentioned before. So there's a lot of skills that get involved here. So it's not as casual as people sometimes think it is, and how it's sometimes made out to be.
It seems like you need great care and planning for this sort of thing.
I mean, it's variable how much care and planning, and I believe so long as the cosplayer is enjoying their cosplay, it doesn't matter how much planning. I'm not judging the aforementioned. I'm judging what they are on the day. Are they enjoying themselves? Then they're cosplaying.
That's the most important thing, and it's always at the end of the day how much fun you're having.
And even if the cosplay is bought, I mean, even though they haven't made it themselves, there's also a lot of, okay, can I trust this? What will it look like? Will it be too shiny? Because there's a lot of problems with ordering online, but then if you can manage to get the right wig and the right shoes, and then find the cosplay which is perfect for you and also great to the character rather than being too shiny or whatever it is that might be wrong with it, it's also got a great deal of care put into it.
The thing is ultimately it's costume play, and it's about enjoying yourself. So no matter how you get your outfit, it's whether or not you're enjoying yourself on the day, and whether or not you're doing with it what you want to do, whether it's just showing off, whether it's being the character, whether it's just being the social aspect of meeting up with people. It's, are you doing that? And it's more the point I was getting at is that there's a potential for all of this. Anybody who really wants to delve into it can go to massive depths and actually become quite skillful. There's a few people that I know in my experience that have done they do top tier professional prop making and whatnot, not just for cosplayers but for other industries as well. So there's a profession to be had here. There's a skill set that you can learn that will make you exceptionally valuable in certain.
So you say that there's a profession in this. People actually make money doing this type of thing.
Yes, there's one course prop maker. I'm not entirely sure if he did any sort of cosplay, or if he did more reenactment. That's a whole other kettle of fish that we might get onto another day. But currently he makes props, and he recently did the prop for Ubisoft Europe's presentation of the Assassin's Creed game.
Oh.
So he's gotten, it's absolutely brilliant prop. He did one of my props, and I'll be getting to do another prop. Very lovely gentleman. It's, what's her name?
Landstalker Props.
Landstalker Props, absolutely brilliant. We'll
Little shameless plug to them.
we'll plop it down in the description. But no, he does do good work, and he just get lots of orders. He's always backlogged. He's always got some new thing that he's doing. So there is a potential to do this, and you've got to get quite good with the skill set. But there is that potential. It's not wasted time.
Well, that's if money to be involved. Maybe I should get into that then. Perhaps I could do with all the money I can. I could get do with all the money I can get.
All the commissions.
Yeah. So going back a little bit, I just wanted to ask a question about something there. You said about some people do cosplaying as modeling. There's actually people actually make living modeling cosplays.
Yes, as far as I gather.
I assume so. I mean, there's a lot of famous cosplayers who. It's more at the convention you'll mainly see them selling prints, so they've had a professional photo shoot in their cosplay, and then they sell prints, and they can sell them online or at a convention, and if they're really well known, like there's loads of big names out there, they can make money from it. Whether or not they have another job or not, I don't know. Sometimes it's not disclosed, but I assume they do, because they always sometimes have their own websites. They've got massive amounts of fans. They're bound to make some decent amount of money.
A lot of the times when I've seen people like Jessikyaa and whatnot, she tends to have her own YouTube page as well, so there's probably a bit of diversity involved. But is it possible to make a living off of the topic area of cosplay? I think it is possible, whether just from the modelling or the modelling is part of your repertoire. And that's something that does happen in a lot of industries anyway.
Yeah.
I think the modelling would also have to be apart from just cosplay, I guess, to fit other.
But speaking on the more business aspect, it's not business unsensible to get involved with cosplayers, especially ones with high fan base and whatnot, because it is a good outlet, is a good advertising source. If that particular cosplayer mentions something with regards to your product, that will get to a massive fan base. And if it's a product that's directly related to it, like say somebody who does League of Legends headsets, sends their headset off to somebody who does League of Legends cosplay, well, that's a perfect outlet. It's hard for them to pay an advertising company to target that group, but here you've got a cosplayer that everybody within that community is watching, and that the people watching them have some tangential connection with League of Legends. That's worth something in the industry.
Indeed.
So how much they decide to pay them becomes a bit of a question. But there is that impetus on the commercial side of things, that there is an advantage to be had here, and a savvy model and cosplayer can actually take advantage of that.
There are also cosplayers who, as you might see, Disney cosplayers, superheroes. Sometimes they can either start a business or become part of a business at children's parties or sick children or something. Like, everyone wants to meet their favourite Disney character. Right now it'd be Elsa. Everyone wants Elsa. Yeah. And then the next Disney film will come like, I want that cosplayer at my child's party because my child's absolutely in love with them. Yeah. And, you could, because, there's a lot of birthdays, every day. And a lot of children, I guess, are into Disney. Disney's quite famous, but so is superheroes, like Spider-Man or Batman or someone. So
there are options out there, and it does seem at least reasonable for me to accept if a cosplay model says that they make their living off of what they do. Then I'm quite happy to accept it, because I see a lot of channels where that would be possible.
That's some excellent points there. We've raised up another question that I can think of is, you make it sound like cosplaying can be an expensive hobby, or even just even for a business practice in general.
Well, let's look at what I've lost so far trying to make cosplays. I must have lost about 500 quid so far. It's gotten to the point where the next project that I've got for Landstalker Props will be a replica of one of the weapons from Stalker, to give its proper name, Stalker.
And which weapon is that?
It's a subsonic sniper rifle. It's the Vintar BC. It's subsonic, so it's like a sniper rifle, but it's rapid fire.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant little thing. Bullet arc is absolutely lovely. I just enjoy using it.
And how much do you think that's going to cost you then?
It's probably going to set me back £200 or £300.
Ooh.
And then I'm going to get I'm going to go down to the army surplus and get some proper army sort of gear. But it's all, I've lost so much money not being able to complete cosplays. I've just hit the point where I'm just going to spend my way through a cosplay and have something that I've done.
Yeah.
But Jessica's the other side of the coin here.
I do believe, depending on the cosplay, I believe you can do it on a budget. Like, depending, do you already have some of the clothes in your wardrobe that you're willing to go, I'll add a bit to that, I'll chop a bit off. Or, you know, you'll use an alternative material. It might not be the best at the time, but, you know, if you're on a budget, you don't want to be spending all your money on cosplay and getting into problems. So, you know, you can, like, look around your fabric stores. What's the cheapest place? Is it suitable enough? Will it do its job? And also, if you have skills on, you know, can you sew? Maybe practice a little bit of sewing. If you have a sewing machine and know how to use it, that's great. Materials aren't always that expensive unless you get the more expensive ones. And I found that looking at a lot of cosplays online, they're quite expensive. And I thought I can make that or buy that in a shop. It's still making your own cosplay, or just altering clothes. Just because you can't make it from scratch, you can sew something onto your shirt, or, you know, cut your trousers a little bit. You know, my Chihiro one must have not cost a lot. I believe my wig was the most expensive part.
How much did that cost you?
It was about £30, but then the rest of it was just the t-shirt from Primark, some material, trousers on a sale rack in Tesco.
Yeah.
You know, big supermarkets will, you'll look at your character, break the cosplay down, don't go, oh, it's a pink dress with all this on. No, it's a pink dress and then what's on it. Not it's all one. Because if you do that, you're going to look for that. And you can probably split up and buy it or make it.
Yeah, I know your last cosplay, I think, probably cost us less than £50 in total. It's probably more like 30. Yeah, it's probably more like £30. And a lot of that was
the shoes were quite the shoes were about £8, and the wig was about the same, and then it was
then the clothing from Primark wasn't much.
Or online.
So you can definitely make a cosplay. It definitely depends who you're cosplaying, and that's an important thing to bear in mind. Is choose a cosplay that can match your skill level. I'm going with Stalker because I've decided we've got an army surplus store. I know I can get Landstalker Props to readers. I love the gun for personal reasons as well, and I'd like to have it as a prop itself, not just to cosplay. If I was just doing it for the cosplay, I probably wouldn't invest in it.
Yeah.
But I would quite happily have this gun mounted somewhere just for the visual appeal. So it's an investment for a toy for myself and for the cosplay.
I think it's also best sometimes to start out with the more basic cosplays rather than trying to dive. I mean, if you really want to, trying to dive into the hardest cosplay, because it's also a bit of a confidence boost. Like, I've made this cosplay, it's a bit simple.
Yeah.
I'll try something a bit more difficult. It might cost a little bit more because I'm adding this and that to it, but you know, you build it up and then you might find you're wasting less than if you bought like 500 sheets of Warbler and went, how do I use this? And instead of going, I can pick up a needle and a thread and alter something. How
about you, Kaiser? What's your experience been with the cost side of cosplay?
I figured that my inability to sew makes it a lot more expensive. It seems like to me like if you don't know how to sew, you're gonna have a harder time, and that's probably where women have the advantage. Because let's face it, how many men do you know how to sew?
I sew better than Jazz.
Hey, I'm starting off. So.
But no, I mean, socially speaking, it is something that was predominantly taught to the girl child. So it's not as sexist a view as you could get.
No.
but no, it is a relative point that is still quite mainly. I mean, it's dying out even with women now, the ability to sew. So
people are quite in awe, aren't they, when you go, I've sewn this, and you know, just day to day life, like, oh, you can sew. I thought most people, because I was taught by my grandma and my mum, I assume that most older people knew how to sew a button onto something.
It's becoming a dying art, so It's something. It's probably something that that doesn't dislike the cosplay community to be happy with, because it does give you a reason to utilize this sort of art. So.
It seems to be like sewing what was so basic back, several years ago. Seems to be it seems to be an uncommon ability these days.
It is becoming a lot more uncommon. So,
and especially if you start small, you can actually do it by hand. Some things you will need a sewing machine, but the smaller stuff, you don't have to spend however much it is on a sewing machine. A pack of needles, cheap. Thread, cheap. Material depends where you buy it. And it's not too bad.
Yeah, I think the cheapest way to get material is to go off to a charity shop and buy the clothing. Just buy the biggest
racks.
version of it.
Yeah.
Sale racks work too.
Just
Top for £1, and it's like, well, it's £1. I could probably buy 2, and if I mess up, I've only lost £1.
And you'll be at £1 extra to end the world hunger.
So it's fairly easy to sort of make a cheap cosplay. There's some cosplay that you just can't make cheap. Let's be fair. If you want to do Blood Elf armor from World of Warcraft, you're gonna be setting yourself up.
You're being quite adventurous there.
But you're gonna need to get your warbler. You're gonna need to get a lot of stuff because it's gonna be plate armor. But if you go for something more simple like Chihiro, Bulma, there's quite a few where you can look outlandish, but you can still get most of the stuff from Primark, and then just with a little bit of sewing, you can bind them right, and you're fine. So choosing your cosplay is definitely an important thing.
And you don't have to make all your clothes yourself, as many people go, you have to have made it all. Unless you're going in the masquerade and it's a specific... No one's going to care if you bought that t-shirt and added words onto it or a pattern. Because guess what? You're still the character.
Yeah.
You've tried your hardest. And as long as you're having fun, what does it matter?
Yeah.
So it seems overall it's expensive depending on it's a combination of both budget as well as the character you're doing. Like the more complex ones, the more expensive it's going to be.
Like,
I mean, if
Grey went over the top on. I got the most expensive one was my boots, and it was like £50 boots from the thing. Mainly because I wanted a nice pair of boots anyway. So again, if I'm going to do a big spend, it's going to be something that I'm happy to use in multiple cosplays,
and that's a great
myself.
idea to think. Some people have loads of cosplays but can't do anything with them. If that character wears a top you'd love or a dress, and you could happily wear it day to day. You've not wasted money on a cosplay because it's also
you can show
as long as you don't ruin it and want it for another cosplay, then it's fine. But day to day wears great.
But grey without the boots cost me 20-30 quid at most. So I'm on par with Jessikaya's one. So yeah, you can go quite cheap, and it's just choosing the right sort of character.
It's definitely interesting to know. So moving on now, I'm going to tie back to probably something you said a little earlier about people who get their costumes ready for them. The question is, do you think there's some cosplays that are I would say frowned upon, that are sort of looked down upon by other players? Like for example, people who make their entire costumes themselves, with sewing and stuff. Do you think they look down on those who buy those purely ready-made costumes or anything like that?
It depends on if they're, as we now calling them, elitists. I mean, for whatever reason they might be an elitist. Maybe they just enjoy seeing cosplay to perfection, or they're a perfectionist themselves. But there are people who do that, it's evident. But I don't think we should. Because a lot of effort has even gone into you may be going online and clicking a button, but imagine how many websites you've been through to find it. So, you've had to measure yourself like you would when you make it. You've got to make sure the materials are what you want them to be. Then your budget still is... I mean, even finding the right wig for cosplay, because I can't style wigs, it's like, is this close enough, and can I use basic hairstyles to make it the character? So it's still quite a task to just go online and find something, especially if it's an outlandish character as well. Sometimes you have to commission it, so you find the right commissioner. You've got to have, you can't just, like some people do, the cosplay the night before. You can't do that with a commissioner. They won't have it done for you.
I think there's two different things. This is what some people don't get. They like to have a one-size-fits-all. If you're in a masquerade, you're being an asshole if you look down on people in any event, any situation.
Absolutely.
If you're in a masquerade, you want to know that everybody's on the same tier. So expecting that other people have handmade this stuff and not commissioned it is completely reasonable in a masquerade, because the whole point of the masquerade is a masquerade of your skill.
Yeah.
So
it's intended to show off your crafting abilities.
Now, the problem that can happen is some people, that becomes a mindset for some people, so then they start judging outside of the masquerade as to the same tier.
Yeah.
And those people I've got some respect for, it's just sort of a transfer of that experience and them trying to apply that to area where it doesn't belong. Those people I won't consider bad. They're a bit misguided, but they're not bad. But you do get sort of the elitists that, for whatever reason, sometimes they haven't even handmade their stuff. They just want to be elitist. And those people, they're essentially poison. Because as we mentioned throughout this podcast, cosplay is costume play. And take it to another situation. Carnival back at home. So I come from the Caribbean.
It doesn't show.
The second you get into the carnival, doesn't matter what your outfit looks like. If you're part of the carnival, you're part of the carnival.
It's the same at home. Like in the dance troupe, we might just be wearing some tutus and some leg warmers we bought from wherever. No one cares, it's the carnival. You're there to have fun.
It's about the spectacle.
And
that's the thing that's ultimately what's at the heart of it. It doesn't matter how you've gotten your costume. It's the fact that you're there with it. So
that's the primary point, is it's taking part in it. It doesn't matter how you do it.
So with regard to the competition, it is a competition. You will get elitism. It's not to be a jerk from there and sort of do the I'm better than you.
Yeah.
You can do the you can make comments, you didn't sew that or whatnot. That's okay, it's not preferable, but you're not being a particular jerk. But don't take it to a jerkish level.
The only elitism I can't agree with is people either who don't cosplay or cosplay to the level they're trying to judge other people at.
Yeah.
Because maybe the person you're judging has tried so hard to make a cosplay before, it went terribly wrong, and they went, okay, I'm just going to buy this one. It's easier. Or they, didn't have enough time, or the budget for making it themselves is too high. So, especially if you don't do that, you can't appreciate how much effort sometimes goes into some of these things that other people do, whether it be buying them or just altering clothing to make the cosplay or not using certain materials, because they might have tried it before. You don't know their past unless, they've told you.
I think one of the points somebody's bound to mention in the comments is, what about the cosplayers that seem like they didn't try at all? Well, there's this one gentleman that I came across. He cosplays Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know if
I might have seen him around.
Yeah, I've seen him.
I'm trying to find the right words to explain, because I think he's really impressive. I really do like it.
He's a great guy.
But from first view, if you're a chav on the street, you'd say it's absolute shit.
I probably wouldn't quite say it that way if you were a chav.
If you're a chav on the street. But the thing is how he's done it. The materials he's used, they tend to lie a bit flat, and so it's hard to sometimes tell on the offhand.
Yeah,
what
but he does. You see, he makes them all himself, doesn't he?
The second you figure out that it's Sonic, it just all comes into view.
Yeah,
and then you see it. The material's laid a bit too flat, but then once you focus in and it's Sonic, the material comes alive.
You got to.
All works.
Yeah, it's
and
just
because he's always having so much fun, and I've never seen him without a smile on his face. He's actually enjoying himself.
Yeah,
I would rather see a cosplayer not be, masquerade level, but with a massive smile on their face, rather than someone in the best cosplay in the world being so upset about this small problem, or because it's there to have fun. It's play. Play is fun. Play is not meant to be something that it shouldn't get you down to levels where it hurts you.
I always hunt out that cosplay because I find it's a really good example of what just understanding cosplay is about.
Yeah.
Once it comes into focus, that guy's always Sonic to me. I always see Sonic in him.
It's just like you said. You got the initial recognition. You got to once you recognise him,
as soon as it clicks, it all works out.
Yeah.
It's just a limitation of materials he's used, and maybe he'll decide to improve on it. Maybe he won't, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
No,
because he's still Sonic. And he's enjoying being Sonic. I'm enjoying seeing him as Sonic every time I see him.
That's the key.
I think of him as the Sonic cosplayer because it works so well.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the heart of it, is that you do get some of them that are just taking the piss, but you can always tell they're taking the piss because they will take the piss. They will make it obvious that they don't give a crap about the cosplay they're in.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, they might have just gone for a Pokemon hoodie. That still works if they're enjoying being that character. If while they're in that hoodie, their intention of wearing that hoodie is that they're Pikachu or they're Umbreon, then I'm happy with it.
So do you think like these onesies? I remember seeing a lot of Pikachu people with onesies. Yeah. Do you think that sort of is that the same as people who buy off peg? Like they don't frown upon them any less?
I don't think any less of them. Again, the bottom line being is somebody might just like wearing onesies and they pull that out of the closet.
Right.
That's not cosplay. But if they're wearing the onesie with the intention of being the character, I'm fine with it because, especially animal characters, they're very difficult to do sometimes. So sometimes the onesie is just a nice way to encapsulate.
Yeah.
I want to be, what's the dragon?
Toothless.
Toothless. I want to be toothless. Well, it's going to cost you. Honestly, it's going to cost you a good couple of months or a good couple of £100 to do a proper toothless cosplay. It's a lot easier to pick up a toothless onesie and then become toothless.
I mean, I have seen some hoodies or onesies that people have made, and I'm always in awe of how did you make that? Because it's such a big project to me. I don't sew my own clothes. I sew plushies and stuff onto clothes. But actually making a jacket that works or a onesie, and with all the details and all the stuff poking out and being all puffed up, and it's like, that's amazing. You did that by hand. I couldn't dream it. It's too big. It's too big for me to do at this point in time. So it's like, that's actually pretty cool.
I think for me, the most important thing is to avoid being judgmental. If you start sort of saying, well, this is a limit, you've got to make sure that everybody under that limit is always thing. So my limit is if you're walking around drunk and the convention's only just started, well, you might be taking the piss.
If it's a convention, I'd imagine everybody will be walking around pissed out of their skull.
At the very end of it, yeah. But the bottom line is, if you set a baseline for it, make sure that everybody below it is definitely shouldn't be above it. Because there's always going to be somebody that falls through the crack. That's why I'm happy to accept the onesies. I'd like it'd be nice if they put a bit more effort, but some characters are better, just easier to do as a onesie. And the more important thing is that they've come to the convention and enjoying themselves. And once they're doing that, and once they're able to cosplay the character they want to cosplay, I'm not going to watch them fall through the cracks.
No.
Because the whole point of the cosplay community is to absorb people who have fallen through the cracks of society. And if we then give them more cracks to fall through, then we hurt ourselves ultimately. So
well, it's meant to be a community, and usually communities, they accept people, and you're a cosplayer. I don't care what level you're at. You're still part of us.
Yeah.
That's what a community is. It's not. You can't push people out of the community if it's. If you want to be the elitist cosplay community, go ahead, whatever you describe as elitist. But the cosplay community is cosplayers. You're all welcome. We don't care how good or bad, or we can't get bad cosplay, but we don't care what level you're at. Just come and join us, because we all want to do the same thing. We all want to cosplay, or you all want to see cosplay, or whatever reason. You're all there for the same thing.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. I think,
yeah.
Should we move on then? Yeah. This next question is a more simple, but serious question actually, and because I've definitely noticed this on on websites and forums and stuff like that. What bullying? Is bullying like a real serious problem for cosplayers? Do people a lot of issues with that?
Going back to Jessikyaa, as I mentioned quite early on.
Yeah.
At least to professionals, yes, it does happen, and it's uncalled for bullying. There's
bullying's not called for any reason.
There's some comments you expect because somebody's famous. And I don't like that they're said. I think they shouldn't be said, but you can argue that till the cows come home. But there's a certain level of comment and a certain level of critique that is uncalled for, no matter what your position is. Just like I don't believe that people should be able to take pictures of your house with telephoto zoom lens, because that's massive invasion of privacy. Don't care who you are.
Definitely.
But that aside, there is some discussions that should be had no matter who you are, and there's some words that shouldn't be said. And definitely some of the more professional people, Jessikyaa in particular, I've seen a lot of vitriol sent at. And that's coming from the cosplay community. That's from people who believe that she's doing something that doesn't make her part of the community. But she enjoys cosplay.
So what kind of things does she normally get then? What kind of
It's
issues?
mainly because she's got bigger breasts.
Yeah.
She's over-sexualizing everything. But when you think about women with bigger breasts, have you ever had big breasts? Yeah, but if you haven't had big breasts, I mean, small ones are enough pain as it is. You might imagine covering. I mean, you can cover them from fit cosplay, but she might be more comfortable wearing those. Or she can't help having them, and she's an amazing person as it is. And her personality is not her breast. She doesn't cosplay because of her breast. She cosplays because she wants to.
The thing is she's making a living from it. And let's be fair, when you're making a living, you're gonna have to make some adjustments for it. What I found is a lot of her cosplay has been relatively fair. She tends to target the characters that would work with a figure and also work with a business.
Right.
Because it's two things. She's doing cosplay because she's enjoying it, but she's also got to keep her business up. And once you have to keep her business up, there's certain things that you tend to have to do.
Yeah.
And I'm just a bit more fairer guy, if you're doing something for a business, well, that's your livelihood. If you still want to cosplay and do what you enjoy, then you kind of have to do it.
Right.
And I've not found her to do anything uncalled for, business side of things. She never goes too sexualized. She'll always keep it within a certain level. So I've never found anything to particularly falter on.
Okay.
I can see where some of the vitriol comes, because she tends to do some more sexualized characters. But that's just the thing. There's lots of other cosplayers who aren't famous who do sexualized cosplays.
They still get bullied though, and I mean, sometimes it's just trolling, and they're completely different from bullies. They're just out there to either hurt people or have a laugh with themselves. But I don't think people should be bullied on any sense, even if they're over-sexualizing a character. It's not harming you, is it? Yeah. I mean, as long as they've got the areas covered up, aka their genitals,
as long as they're legal,
and if they're legal, and as long as they've got the genitals, and if they're women, like nipples covered up, you can go to the beach and see worse than this. I mean, they might be one of these people who in everyday life would never dream of wearing anything sexualized, but because there is this different person, this person might be sexualized.
Yeah.
And unless you know the character, you can't go, you've over-sexualized that because and it's like some people are like that where the character is, or maybe you feel like you want to do it because you want to try something new. And
cosplayers. That's something else to mention. Is a lot of people tend to use cosplay. A lot of people that I've met tend to use cosplay as sort of an outlet. They're shy otherwise, but within the cosplay community or while they're wearing a cosplay, they can become somebody else. So they tend to choose sexualized cosplay, mainly because they want to be more sexual themselves, but they're too shy or their environment doesn't let them do that.
So you say it's like a good way for a confidence boost?
Yeah. So you've got all of this happening in the background, and I think that a lot of the vitriol, it cuts out all that colourful background, and a lot of people are just sort of, as I was mentioning, sort of making sure that you put the level on the right point.
Yeah.
They're putting the level way too high, and suddenly people are just falling off into the gaps, and that does a massive disservice to the community. We don't want to subdivide cosplay.
Not at all.
The cosplay community was started. Be honest, cosplay community goes way back to the 1970s, 1960s, when people were dressing up to play Dungeons and Dragons.
It does. It wasn't just. It's not this very new thing that a lot of people seem to mistakenly think. It's only been around for a few years. It's been around for
and
decades.
I think the most stupid thing that anyone can bully on is, you're the wrong skin colour, you're the wrong weight, because you can't help that most of the time. And I don't care what weight they are, what colour they are, as long as they're having fun, it's fine. Yeah. And no one is going to have that anime girl superhero figure. If you do, great for you. But no one's
I'd be kind of worried if they did.
No one's ever going to have their hips smaller than their head.
Yeah.
If you find anyone that looks like Jessica Rabbit walking around there.
But no,
alert them immediately. You should go to a hospital.
Some people can look like them, but you're never going to be that person.
The idea is, as I said, it's a two-tier thing. Is if you're going for masquerade, then yeah, if you can look closer to the character is, and that's completely fine. That might get you extra points.
Yeah.
But cosplay, as in what the general community does, doesn't care. It doesn't matter. It just simply doesn't matter.
It should never be about like figure or
no, you're not meant to match a character. You're just meant to become the character to whatever makes you feel good that you become the character.
Yeah.
It's about you and your enjoyment. And the cosplay community has always been about just accepting those that, we were the outcasts. And it was a way of sort of expressing your interests. And that's why cosplay does span a lot of stuff. There's that whole, the furry aspect. If everybody's familiar with that particular term. If not, you can look it up at your own risk.
Yeah.
But cosplay touches on to that as well, because they were also outcasts. And, in the day-to-day life, in the public side of a furry, it's the same as cosplay. Same exact thing as cosplay. So why should we knock them out? We never did. So it's just, we got to be very careful that we don't start subdividing the what is essentially the outcast. We have outcasts and
you don't want to limit people on cosplays, because they will. Generally, most people I meet will be cosplaying someone they enjoy. So you can, you want to be able to have fun talking to this person about their favourite character. If they're cosplaying for that reason. By going, you're not right to do that character. It might be your favourite character. If you cosplay to someone who is more like you might not know anything about them or not have that same interaction. And if you're doing it for that interaction, do it because you want to be that character. It doesn't matter if you don't look right, you don't have the right figure or the skin colour or eye colour or whatever. Just try to be that character.
No,
it's great.
That said, I do enjoy seeing a cosplayer that whose body shape does match the character. Whether it's a larger character, a smaller character, it doesn't matter. I do like to see that, but would I stop somebody from cosplaying a character because of that? No, I never would. I enjoy it more like a skinny Jinx with smaller breasts and non-existent breasts. I enjoy seeing that a bit more than somebody with larger breasts or a larger body person. But I would still be happy to meet them. Yeah. It's sort of the icing on the cake. I still have the cake. I can still enjoy the cake. The icing just makes me a little bit.
It's also like
the icing just makes me a bit happier, but that it doesn't diminish those that don't have that.
It never should.
It makes you really happy to see another version as well, like gender bending.
Yeah.
I've seen a great male Jinx, and he's so amazing. It's like,
I remember him.
It's like Jinx would look so great as a man.
Yeah.
But you can't say you can't cosplay that because Jinx isn't a man. No!
Yeah.
You can cosplay your favourite character. It doesn't matter about any of that stupid stuff people say you can't. You can. It's your body. It's your choice and your cosplay.
Yeah.
So you said about we've said like professional models it seems to be like comes with the territory that they get a little bit of. But what about like regular people? Do you think they get it just as badly?
As from what I've seen, they do. And now the thing to point out is that the pages where you tend to see it from, they tend to be magnets for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not a proper representative. Well, this is my scientific side coming out. It doesn't mean that what we're saying is representative of the entire community.
No.
But from the pages we frequent and the pages that we see, it does seem to be a predominant thing that anybody who does not fit into a particular role, and sometimes it's really obtuse roles. Oh, you're too fat for Poison Ivy, and then they turn around and say that Nigri's too sexualized. Poison Ivy's not obvious. She's effectively wrapped up in vines, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So you're not going to not get a sexualized Poison Ivy, but you've got this thing that that they say one lot is not sexy enough, and they say one lot is being too sexy.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like nobody knows where the middle ground is. It changes for character. It changes for the person.
One thing I've seen is most people are, as we like to call them, they're on their keyboard. As soon as you get into a convention, I've never experienced bullying. I have experienced a little bit on the page that we go to. But usually I haven't, bullying does happen at conventions, obviously. But there's no one going around going, you're too fat, you're the wrong colour, I've never seen someone go around all the millions of people and do that. Whereas on the page, they'd go onto hundreds of photos and span that they're not right. Yeah. So there will be, in the actual convention, maybe a little bit of bullying, but it won't. I doubt it's as bad as on the page. Yeah. I haven't seen it as much.
The thing for what I'd say to the cosplayers who might suffer from it is to remember it's still a relative rarity, and it's like being attacked by a shark.
That seems to be quite common nowadays.
It's common because it's being reported more, but you're actually more likely, it's that footballer that bites people's ears off. You're more likely to be bit by him. But it's a realistic thing, is that that when it happens, it's a bad thing. But it's to remember that it doesn't happen very often.
But I have seen...
It's devastating when it does happen.
So,
Yeah.
so how would you? So, what kind of advice would? Sorry, what kind of advice would you give to those who are experiencing? How would you suggest that they would deal with this?
Don't take it to heart. I mean, it's your cosplay. Are you happy in that cosplay? Yes, you're doing it right. Are you proud of your cosplay? Yes. If not so proud, try redo it. But you should be proud. If you've bought it or made it, you'll always look great in that cosplay. I have never seen a really bad cosplay if you're having fun with it and taking it. You're not taking the piss out of it, as we like to say.
No, I can't give any real complicated deep words on this or anything, because it's not an area of expertise of mine. But the only thing I can really say on it, and this is more from my own personal side of things, is to remember that a lot of the times the negativity will always stand out, like a black spot on a white table.
Yeah.
It's easy to spot that one negative comment, and it's a horrible thing when you get that negative comment. When you're particularly happy and somebody just stabs you in the wrong place with one word, it can make everything start to tumble down. So I completely understand how even the smallest comment, sometimes it's a direct bully, sometimes it's somebody that hasn't even realised. It might be somebody like me that likes to see a cosplayer fit the cosplay, and they don't think that other cosplayers are bad, but they might make a comment, you could fit the character a bit better. They're doing it from a genuine perspective because they've seen the character, they appreciate that you've done the character.
Yeah. They're not intended to be mean. They're just giving.
But when that happens, just remember there's a lot of reasons why that comment might have come.
Yeah.
And to try and focus on the positive you've had that day. To try and focus on what people have said or done around you that's positive, because that's going to be the only way to try and recover from the situation. Try not to focus on the negative experience, regardless of what the reason is behind it. That's the best advice I can give, and a lot more qualified people can give a lot better advice, but that would be my one thing, is to just try your hardest. You might not succeed, you might succeed, but try your hardest to think of the positivity you've got around you and focus on that, and it might help you to recover from it.
I think another thing as well, bullies are either generally someone who is hurting themselves, so they inflict it onto you, or maybe they're just jealous of you. I've seen a really great person being bullied before, but she's amazing, she's beautiful, great personality. They're probably just either jealous or, and that's another thing. It might not be something about that cosplay, they might just be jealous, or there might be another feeling they have.
Or they just want to hurt somebody that day, they've just chosen you as random, so they've lied essentially just to hurt somebody. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's horrible when it happens, but, just remember that, as long as you're having fun, focus on the positivity, You've managed to cosplay, that's great, or you're starting your cosplay, that's still great, You're working towards something, and I always find the best feeling is finishing that cosplay and putting it on. So don't let that feeling go just because someone said that, something bad to you, because, you've still got all those positive feelings connected to that cosplay.
I think that's some excellent advice there. So there you are, viewers. If you are having some bullying issues regardless, even if it's in cosplay or just in general life, there's some free advice there from the Sphere trio. I think there's some excellent points there.
I think a way to avoid, if you are going to criticise someone in the cosplay, use constructive criticism as well, just to avoid being that one person who unintentionally hurts them. Say, this is really great, I think you could improve by this, but it's still great, add more positive than negative. It's a bit like a sandwich. Positive, how they can improve, positive. Constructive
criticism is always needed, it's just, wording it, finding the right words to say about it is always important, but the main thing is, if you don't tell them what could be better, how could they improve, nobody will get better, is it? That is the only way you learn. And I think people do need a little bit more of that not in cosplay, but in life in general.
It's also to find the right time to mention positive criticism.
Yeah.
Because no matter how good your positive criticism is, if you choose the wrong time, it's going to cause offence one way or the other.
That is also a case, yeah. I think we should move on. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can run out of time here.
Yeah.
Well, not really, but we don't want to go for too long, do we?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll do one more question here. Earlier on, we said that this was a much more social event, social gathering for people, for the general public. But do you believe like cosplay is something that people use for the sole reason of just becoming popular? You know, just because they want to say, I'm here, yeah, you fucking worship it.
Yeah.
I'd love to say no just because of how much money and effort it takes.
What I would say on that is it's a very good question, and it's one that does deserve.
Well, I did think it up.
It does deserve a very nuanced answer, but the problem is with the community the way it is now, the only answer I can give in good faith is to say no, that doesn't happen.
You think so?
Because the second you say that something like that could happen, suddenly people start tacking that label on people. It's the same thing with the idea of is somebody too fat? Well, of course there's a point where somebody gets too fat, but because there's so many people that are size 10 or 12 being called fat, you just have to go and say blank carpet statement, nobody's too fat, because you cannot have that nuanced discussion. Because at the moment just the community's too offensive to sit down and have it.
I think one thing you could say is, you make a cosplay. It's great if people give you lots of likes on your picture or page or whatever you have, but there's so much involved in cosplay that I don't think you could do it just to get popular. I mean, there's loads of other ways to get popular other than spending a ton of money, a ton of effort, and a ton of time. Tears.
Well, apparently one popular way is to make some crappy video on YouTube. That seems to be how to do it.
They do tend to that, but this is the thing. Sometimes there's I get it with some racial questions. There's just some questions you cannot discuss in the public environment.
Yeah. Because
the public environment is not fit for that to be discussed
No.
at the level it needs to be discussed. You just have to end up with a blanket statement. If you get something like suicide, you just have to assume, for the sake of the individual, that they're being serious every time.
Yeah.
As an emergency services, somebody says, I feel like committing suicide, they have to take it as it's serious.
Yeah.
Because,
mental note, we might discuss that in our next topic.
If we do that, we've got to get Valentine Cosplay. He's currently doing something on depression and whatnot. So.
Yeah.
But using that as an emergency as an example, there's just some situations where you have to just accept it as this is serious all the time.
Absolutely.
And I think when it comes to that question, yes, it probably happens. But if I'm going to make an official statement in a public space, I'm going to say no, it doesn't happen.
Right.
Because we cannot have that nuanced discussion at the moment.
No.
It will always be covered up, and it will just lead to people being wrongfully tagged. So.
I think that's a sensible answer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've pretty much run out of questions here. So I suppose we all wrap this thing up. Is anything you two want to say?
Anything you want to say, Jess?
Just keep cosplaying and having fun, really. But, that's all it is. Have fun in your cosplay, whether it's making it, wearing it, acting in it, whatever. Just have fun. It's play, and play is fun. Costume play. That's what it means. So have fun in your costume.
Yeah.
I'd say to wrap up is just to be careful what labels and what categories you're putting people in, where you put bars in, because once upon a time we're all just labelled as weirdos.
That's right. Some more than others.
So we're all part essentially of the same outcast. Don't stop dividing us. Just continue find reasons to accept people. Don't find reasons to get rid of them. I
think that's a good idea. It's a good thing. But speaking of that, I'll just come up with one more. We'll try to answer this real quickly.
Okay, quick last one.
Yeah, one quick last one. Then. Well, I can get my words out. Yeah. Is there any quick advice you can give to anybody who starting out for first time cosplayers? What kind of advice would you give?
Maybe, as I said earlier, start small, because you'll find that even the smallest thing can bring you a lot of joy. I mean, you could have just sewed the plushie for your cosplay if you're good at sewing, or you could have made this, or you did a really simple cosplay. If you build up, there's more and more joy, and you're learning new things all the time. And don't think my cosplay has to be so expensive and everything. If you've got a budget, there is ways of doing it. And if you've got any questions, just ask us, because I'm sure we've all got advice on how to do stuff with cosplay and how to do it on a budget, as we mentioned in this video.
I'd say my best advice, and I do give this to cosplayers that I meet who do want to have ideas, is when you're choosing a cosplay, there's 2 levels for everything that cosplayer is wearing, anything associated with that character. One of them is necessary. They're your primary aspects. So, if you're cosplaying Vegeta in his Saiyan armor, well, you're going to need the Saiyan armor.
Obviously.
You're going to need some blue clothing to go with it, or black clothing, depending
You know,
on which one.
the pieces that, that identify them. The first
And
thing
you're
you
gonna
think
need
of
the
when you
hair,
think that character.
And you're going to need the hair.
Yeah.
The sculptor is secondary. You don't desperately need it. The
No.
shoes are secondary. You don't desperately. If you're walking on his sneakers, people are quite happy to accept, better to have good footwear than to screw up your feet trying to cosplay.
Yeah.
So they're things that are secondary that, if you can't get them done in time, who cares?
That's true.
You want to focus on your primary. So focus on your primary aspects. Identify them and get them done. And then your cosplay's done. Then you're just putting icing on the cake.
That's good, yeah. I think, I just want to throw a little bit of ice in, I think one thing that's important as well is the type of place you go. That's what I find. I find like some of like the bigger events like MCM, you should not go there for the first one. You should try going like some of the smaller events. There's plenty of events out there like around the country that goes on throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
LAC is a good one. I mean, even the crew are like, because I'm part of the crew at LAC.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to see cosplay whatever level, and if I know you, I'll try and interact with you just to make you smile a bit more, because LAC is getting bigger, but it's still quite small.
It's a lot smaller compared to like the MCM and
you
stuff.
tend to also get to know some of the people who frequently attend there.
Yeah.
And if there is a local cosplay meet,
That's
an amazing place to start. Meets are amazing.
There's if normally a lot of them are doing it on Facebook, but if you look for like a cosplay group within your local area, so say you're in London cosplay group, or if you're in Exeter cosplay, look in your local area on Facebook and see if there's a cosplay group, and they all normally have a meet. And what you can do is, if the meet's in a couple of weeks, skip that one, get to know them online, send them a few messages, see if they're a nice lot. If they're a nice lot, then go off. That's probably your best starting point, because they won't mind what level of cosplay you've done. They will have improvement suggestions, and it's a situation where you can quite happily have that positive criticism discussion with somebody, and they can suggest what but definitely choosing the right place to start off is going to be quite important.
Definitely.
So start small, and if you've got a group of friends that are going to MCM, then at least you're within your group of friends. But keep it tight wherever you go.
Yeah, I think that's some sound advice. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to wrap it up here. It's been talking about nearly an hour. So that's pretty long by our standards. Well, there you go. So that was our pilot episode of the podcast on cosplaying. Again, we are the Sphere Trio. I am Kaiser Dragon.
I'm storming a Teacup, the intrepid leader.
And I'm Jessikyaa.
Right.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be bringing up some more episodes shortly about other subjects, if you're up for that.
Yeah, no, it's more than happy.
Yeah.
I think also I'm definitely doing a few more of these crossovers amongst our channels. I'm just starting up, but I'm sort of being sort of the focal point of all of this. So I'll be doing much more crossovers, and hopefully have a few more people coming on board as well.
Yeah.
So you get some more voices on these podcasts as well.
Indeed, yeah. It's always nice to talk to someone else. So yeah. So if you'd like to see more of these podcasts or any particular subject you wish to mention, feel free to mention it in the comments. Give us a like, and feel free to subscribe to us. It's not just this podcasting we're hoping to do. We do other things like Jessica and I do like our own Let's Plays and things like that. So feel free to look us up.
I'll be doing more sort of.
Yeah, you've still got catching up to do. You have.
Get a video up.
My general aim at the moment is to go towards more sort of the talk while I play, sort of the Nilesy. I'm a big fan of Nilesy from the Yogscast. Just sort of the more I'm playing a game, come watch me play a game. I'll talk while I'm playing, and talk about the game, talk about other stuff. So it's sort of a much more easy listening thing. So that's sort of my aim of what I want to do. And then also I want to get involved, do sort of more of those sort of group games like Team Fortress 2 and all of this chatting and while we're playing the game. So that sort of stuff where you can come and have an easy listen to it.
Yeah.
So hopefully those will start going up probably once a week and see where it goes from there.
That's true, yeah. And what videos you're playing on your channel?
I'm currently resuming with PID. Yeah, that's been going on a while. I think we'll be going on to our 29th episode soon.
You're doing a lot more than I am.
There's also odd episodes. We've nearly finished Gone Home, which is a weekend playthrough, and then on certain weekdays I decide to play certain games just to give you a little more spice in your life.
Yeah. Of course, if you look on my channel, you'll find that I'm currently playing Final Fantasy VIII, which we're going pretty well, and every Monday, of course, we'll have Alice Madness Returns playing as well, so have a look, feel free to look at those. So, yeah, I think we'll have to end it here. So, once again, I'm Kaiser Dragon.
I'm Storm in the Teacup.
I'm Jessikyaa.
We are the Sphere Trio, and we hope to see you again sometime in the future.
Yep.
Bye-bye.